here at the southern west side of the island Suðuroy in the Faroe Islands. We are one of two of my favourite locations. I originally came here just to have a look to see how it's going to be. Last few times I've been here it's been really stormy. We have a nice calm day. Although there is a good bit of movement of the waves along the cliffs, which is going to be really good. The sun is setting right behind me, so I'm keeping an eye on the cliffs in front of me, and also the sunset behind me. There's some nice rays, but I think as we get closer to the sunset we are going to move to our second location. My main point of focus here is these almost Jurassic cliffs that we have over here. We have low cloud along the top that's moving, so that's my main focal point is just this way over here. So I'm just going to set up my composition to get kind of rock that's out in the sea, and then the low cloud above, and then rocks coming out. There's a bit of haze on at the moment, which I'm guessing is now coming down from the sea air and also the light that's deteriorating behind us, so kind of see how that's going to turn out. We're going to shoot it in black and white and in camera, and then we'll convert it to black and white again in post-processing. So I've got my composition set up, just to take in the cliffs just to the left here, and the island that's just in front of me, and then these rocks that are just coming up at the back. And I think we're just going to patiently wait for these just to see what the cloud on top's going to do, whether it's going to kind of come in thicker or thin out just a little bit to reveal the tops of the mountain, and see how it goes. So I'm going to introduce my one-stop graduated filter into the front. This is just going to cover just enough in the clouds at the top, just to hold back some of the light so it's not going to blow out entirely, and we can still expose for the rocks behind. So we're on there. That looks good. Let's twist it a little bit to take it away from the edge of the rock here, and introduce just down to the light at the bottom. I don't want this to go over the rocks entirely because I don't want to dull out the light from there. Perfect. Okay, so filter's on, all set. I'm going to expose for the foreground just to the front, so the line of rocks that are leading up to the big rock, that's going to be my point of focus. Shooting in manual. There we go, just test these eyes. That looks great. Now, because we've got a bit of depth with the rock in front and the rocks behind, I'm going to need a good bit of depth of field. So normally I'm on a f9, f10. I think we're going to probably bump it up to maybe about 13, 14, f13, 14 in the aperture, just to get that depth of field. I can check it in the camera, and that's looking really good. My ISO is down to 200, and that's giving me a shutter speed of roughly, yeah, 1/8 of a second. So that's long enough exposure, so maybe get some light in the back, but also just kind of not freeze the waves that are coming up, just to kind of show a little bit of movement, I suppose, around those rocks. And just zoom in to my foreground. That's bang on. And then I'm going to take my shot. There we go. So I've taken the shot. I think I'm actually going to crop it just a little bit. I'd like a little bit more detail just on top here of the clouds. So I'm just going to bring the camera back. I might have to cut off on the bottom of the rocks, but that's okay. There we go. That looks really great. Really dramatic. Nice movement in the waves. Yeah, splashing up. It's almost like fireworks coming up, so it's really good. The good thing is, with going with a slower exposure, there is a lot of seabirds flying around, so they are going to be blurred out, so shouldn't really catch them up on that. I'll have a closer look, and if I feel that I am, I will decrease the shutter speed even more, so any birds that are flying around are not going to show up in the picture. So after the last shot, I felt I wanted to keep a little bit more detail in the clouds. I want those clouds a little bit darker, so I can maybe expose for the cliffs a little bit more and get some more detail in there. So I'm now going to increase it up to a 2-stop graduated filter. And just slide that in to cover over the clouds and a little bit the cliffs, and just to the horizon of the sea. And just double check my focus. Always double check your focus. Before you take a shot, look through. If you can and you want to, you can use the viewfinder and you can zoom right in there, and just to check that that focus is sharp throughout the whole image. Let's just tweak that a little bit. That looks great. We're going to get one more shot, and then we're going to call it a day here, and we're going to head over to our next location. So landscape's been great. I really want to give a portrait view a try as well. So again, just to get these clouds in, portrait view, just get my composition right. I want to maybe get 2/3 of the sea and the rocks, and we're just going to aim it down just a little bit. Looks good. Bringing in some of the rocks just here in the foreground, just below me down here, and then 1/3 of the sky above. Spot on. Readjust the gradient filter. This time we're doing it over the whole rocks. It's good. And then lastly, check my point of focus. Bang on. Shooting on now, 1/5 of a second, f14, and ISO 200. And that actually has come out a lot better than I expected. Superb. Okay, so what I'm going to quickly do before we head off is introduce my 6-stop filter, also known as a little stopper. So going by my shutter speed at the moment, I said we're on 1/6 of a second. Now just for ease, my math is not the best. I'm going to use a little stopper exposure guide I have here. So 1/5 of a second, kind of come down to roughly 8 seconds. 8 seconds could be perfect. Give it a go and see. Just a quick test shot. Yeah. Too dark. Far, far too dark. I think we're going to be going quite dark in 13 seconds. I'm going to shut the eyepiece in the back of the camera. The handy little thing that the D810 has. 2-second timer. And now the rocks are pretty solid, but I am still going to step away. I don't want any movement around here at all. So 13 seconds. Step away. Stay still. It's a really good time now just to enjoy the view, take in what you're photographing, have a look for other compositions while you're doing these slow exposures, and also keep an eye on what's happening behind us. So looking back, oh, that's really good. I am a sucker for a slow exposure. That is superb.